Hi, and welcome to Flourish, the Compassionate Schools Project curriculum. And this webinar focuses on the grade level band of K-1. I just want to share up front that I'm getting over a cold, so my voice is a little lower than normal. I think we'll be just fine. I'm still very happy to be here sharing about this wonderful resource with you all. And here we go. So the Flourish curriculum that we're going to share about today is really a result of a work from a lot of different organizations and entities. Pure Edge is just one part. The curriculum is from the Compassionate Schools Project. The University of Virginia was also involved in supporting this work, including the Contemplative Sciences Center, the School of Education and Human Development, along with YouthNext. So we're grateful to all of these funders that you see on the screen, and to all the collaborators. And if you're on this webinar, you probably know us. We are Pure Edge Inc. We're a private operating foundation, and we provide direct service to organizations through professional development and strategy thought partnership. And my name is Erin. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction at Pure Edge. I've been doing this work for many years, and for the past couple of years, I've really spent quite a bit of time working with the Flourish curriculum. So I'm excited to share some of the resources that we've created with you all today. So what I want to do in our time together is we're really going to look at the curriculum through the lens of compassion. And so we're not just talking about like why use this curriculum, but why is compassion important? And we'll take a look at compassion, we'll define it and explore some of the research on why we focus on compassion in the school setting. We'll talk about strategies for cultivating compassion in, oh, excuse me for 1 second. We want to talk about strategies for cultivating compassion in the K-1 classroom setting. And I just want to make sure, yes, okay, we have the right deck up. And here we go. Our final objective is to make sure you're able to access the Pure Edge website and the free Flourish curriculum resources. So when we think about compassion, the K-1 curriculum actually defines compassion as meaning to show care or kindness when someone is in need. Now, when we show that care or kindness, I think in general, when we think of compassion, we think of it as like just a feeling that arises within us and a feeling that motivates us to act. And that is correct. And there are skills involved in getting to this feeling. And compassion is actually a skill that can be taught and strengthened with practice. Okay. Why focus on compassion in schools? So the Flourish curriculum was actually implemented across many schools, and they conducted a randomized control trial, which is the gold standard for research. And they had 43 K-5 elementary schools included in the study. And about half of those received the Flourish curriculum intervention and the other half did not. And then the study compares and can kind of see the results based on that. And you can see the study was over 2 years' time. What they found was that in learners, the learners who had received the Flourish intervention, they demonstrated greater social self-efficacy, which basically means they had some better social skills, better ability to engage socially with their peers. They found greater perceived peer support. So another way of saying that is greater empathy, right? Greater empathy was found in the learners and in the classrooms that had this Flourish intervention, greater attention control. And then finally, these last two, they also saw greater pro-social behavior and fewer conduct problems. And those last two, those results were increased in the schools who had higher issues with conduct problem and antisocial behavior at the start of the study, which leads researchers to believe that the impact can be greater where the need is greater, which is a good finding. When we think about supporting compassion in the school setting, focusing on the kids and their skills is one piece of the puzzle, right? So when we think of what we like to call the compassion roadmap, it includes adult modeling. So when we're implementing Flourish, we're also demonstrating some of these compassionate and relationship building behaviors in the adults on campus, right? Because the kids are learning not only by what you're telling them and by the skills that they get to practice, but also just by being around you and by being engaging with you in compassionate relationships. In addition to that adult modeling, learners do get opportunities to practice the skills. And then finally, another element of the compassion roadmap is to foster both a classroom and a school culture that supports compassion. And we'll talk toward the end of our time together today, we'll talk about a couple of simple ways that you can do that. Okay, so one of the first ways, this is one of the first things the learners who are in the curriculum, who are engaging with the curriculum, one of the first things they learn is calming breath. So I thought it would be a nice strategy for us to engage in together. So I invite you to come into a comfortable sitting position. If you're sitting in a chair, you want to make sure your feet are on the floor if that is available to you, and the legs aren't crossed. You can sit up a little bit tall, bring some softness to your shoulders, and then bring one hand to your belly and one hand to your heart. And as we tell the kids, these are our anchors. And the anchors are a place where we can continually bring our attention back to. And if our mind wanders, that is totally fine. When we notice the mind has wandered, just encourage your attention to rest back in your anchors. So we'll get started. I would recommend that you can choose whether eyes are open or closed. If you keep your eyes open, I recommend just tucking the chin and bringing the gaze away from the screen, okay? So from here, calming breaths, hands on the anchors, eyes open or closed. Gently breathe in through your nose and gently breathe out through the nose. Good. Again, breathe in and out. This time, as you breathe in, notice your anchors. And same thing as you breathe out, let the attention rest on the anchors. Let's take 2 more breaths. When you finish your last round of breathing, you can bring your hands back to your lap. Just take a moment to notice how you feel. I find when I do the calming breaths that, I have a few different responses in the body. I usually feel a little more relaxed. And I notice if I have like a lot of thoughts in my mind, like my mind is busy, I notice after I do the calming breaths, I feel a little more spaciousness around those thoughts. So if the Q&A is active and you can go ahead and share any response that you had to the exercise. Okay, so when we talked about our compassion roadmap, we talked about adult modeling, right? So the kids are going to absorb the adult mannerisms, especially their ability to regulate emotions. And so as the adult in the room, you want to make sure that you are giving yourself the same compassion that you're also encouraging the kids to give to themselves and to each other. When we think about the kids and the opportunity to practice skills, this is really what's at the heart of the Flourish curriculum. So the curriculum teaches core social and emotional competencies. It has 7 units, and the first unit theme is compassion. And then after that, the units just go through different social and emotional competency areas. So we have a unit on self-awareness, a unit on self-management, a unit on relationship skills. There's actually 2 units on relationship skills, and there's a unit on a compassion project. And all of this is done in an engaging and playful way. It's not dry content type learning. So every lesson is going to include mindful movement and physical activity. Every lesson includes what's called mindful moments, which are mindful awareness practices. And then the curriculum also covers some skills and mindsets for lifelong health. So each unit will have a lesson that talks about nutrition and making healthy choices about the things that we consume for our bodies. And there are also different mindset topics. The one that comes to mind is like kind self-talk, right? So there's different strategies and different ways that we can encourage the kids to be kind to themselves and to develop mindsets that are going to serve them lifelong. These are all of the books that go with the curriculum. I don't want you to get overwhelmed. These are all meant as support. So every grade level band is going to have a curriculum manual. Along with the curriculum manual, you have a practice guide and a practice deck. Now, those just have the strategies, so just the mindful movement strategies or the mindful moment strategies, which are breathing strategies and rest strategies. And along with those, every lesson or every unit has resources in a student workbook and in a teacher resource manual. And so those are all the resources that you might need. The teacher resource manual has a lot of visuals, so you don't have to go digging around for your own visuals. You're welcome to if you want, but we provided some. We really tried to lighten the load on the educator so that you could really just focus on your implementation. And in order to access the curriculum, you can do so at pureedgeinc.org. And you can see the QR code here if you hold up the QR code or if you type into your browser, that'll bring you right to our curriculum page. And at the curriculum page, you just need to create an account. And I'm going to be brave because I'm always a little afraid to mess around with this stuff, but I'm going to stop my screen share and I want to bring you to our website. And I'm just going to walk you through the Flourish page so you can know how to access the Flourish specific resources. So let me go ahead and share. So this is the curriculum homepage. Now, there's a couple of, actually it's the website homepage, and there's a couple different ways to access the curriculum. You can see this button right here. If you just click there, that'll take you to the curriculum page. Personally, I like to scroll down so it goes to youth curriculum, and then I click on Flourish, and I get a little blurb about the curriculum. And then I'm going to click on View Curriculum, and then it takes me to this little kind of header page. Here you can choose a language. So Flourish is available in English and Spanish. I'm just going to stay on English for now and also click on the Flourish curriculum. Now I just saw, oh, thank you, Alicia. Great question. So when you create a login to access the curriculum resources, once you've created a login, it should always work. So it's not curriculum specific. So if you haven't created a login or if you haven't accessed resources on our website before, it will prompt you to fill out a little form and then you'll get approved. And if you have any trouble with that, feel free to reach out to any of us and we'll support you through the process. But if you already have a login, then you should be all set. So here I am, I'm on the Flourish curriculum page, and you can see there's grade level band. So K-1, 2 to 3, 4 to 5. So since today is K-1, we'll stay on K-1. And then it takes you right here to the downloads. And you can download the full curriculum. That's one booklet of all of the units. But maybe you don't want all of the units. Then you might just click on 7 units and choose the unit you want to focus on. There's another way you can access the workbooks and guides. And then you can also access the videos. So I'm going to take us over to the video library just to share that. So let's see. Okay, so when you get to the video page, you'll see an overview. So there's some nice background supports for the Flourish implementation. So, I encourage you, if you want to do Flourish, these are great to check out. They just give you, some examples. There's teachers who have implemented some of the practices. There's also some of the authors are on some of these videos. So it's a really nice resource. These are sort of a background resource. And you can see there's one specifically for each unit. And then we have our animated resources, which I adore. I think these just came out so beautifully. We have some of the mindful movement sequences are animated, and these are designed to be used in front of the kids. And then those are the ones with the blue backgrounds. And I'm going to share one of those once we get back on our main presentation. And then these, so in the K-1 curriculum, a lot of the movement and the mindful movement is taught through story. And so what we did is we pulled out some of the common story themes that, or story sequences that are used frequently in the curriculum, and we animated them and we kind of set them in a background that matches the story. And these are just lovely. They work well as standalones, and they also work really nicely if you've implemented the mindful movement with the kids already and you want to give them a chance to review. So that's what these ones with the colorful backgrounds are. And then, so that's it. That's what it looks like. And let's see, I'm gonna, sorry, I'm trying to get out of here. I was gonna try to show you, okay, so I'll go on to the main curriculum page. If we could get a minute to look, let's see if we can just look at one of our lessons. So this is, I went to unit 1. This is the unit on compassion. And I'm scrolling through the front material. Every unit has like a front header on the whole unit, and it goes through each of the lessons. But so this is just so you get a chance to see what a lesson looks like. So every lesson will have, the lesson title, a goal statement, an essential question, and an I can statement. So for this one, students will learn that compassion means showing care and kindness to someone in need, and they will practice identifying acts of compassion. The essential question is, what is compassion? And the I can statement is, I can tell you what compassion is, right? So really a good a good goal for our learners to learn. And then we have more information, the learning objectives, any materials you might need. And again, many of these materials are already going to be included in the teacher resource manual. Any preparation or setup that might have to happen ahead of time. And then we have a list of vocabulary. Now, this looks like quite a long list, so I would say you can always just pull out, the vocabulary that you would want to focus on in a lesson. You don't have to do every single word. And then from here, we get into the lesson. And I'm not going to take us through the whole thing, but you can see we start with calming and focusing, which is a mindful moment that is consistent throughout the curriculum. Then we move into the moving story time. And for this part, I think I'll switch back to our main presentation because I have some images of the moving story time to share with you. Okay, so for K-1, the moving story times are, like I said, they're just a really lovely way to engage this age of learner in mindful movement. It's very playful, it engages their imagination. We're not trying to teach them like strict form or any sort of perfection of a pose. It's really about moving and breathing and engaging with the story. This encourages body awareness, embodied self-regulation, and through the story, we're starting to build that skill of perspective taking, where they're able to understand the points of view of different characters. And then that's a lesson that will carry over as we build the skills of compassion and we get the kids to a place where they're able to understand that, they and their classmates might not always have the same perspective on an issue, and yet we can still get along. Okay, and these are just some images of the kids doing their moving story time, and you can see there's one area where they have mats and they have access to using mats for their mindful movement. And then this is another one that is just a regular classroom and they can still deliver the curriculum here. Okay, I'm going to circle back to the practice because I skipped this. So this is one of our mindful movement videos. And I think in the last few moments that we have together, I wanted to share this with you. So what I'm going to do is invite you to join and follow along. This is about a 1-minute exercise and you need to stand up. So go ahead and stand. And these we created to be universal. So instead of using words to direct the kids, and again, especially for young children, they don't always process the verbal instructions as well. We used the animation and also music. There have been times where the music doesn't play very well across the Zoom, so we'll just hope for the best today. And if it doesn't play, that's okay. You can still follow along with the frog and his movements. Okay, so I'm going to go off camera and get started. Okay, so from there, see. Get my video back on. There we go. And let me check the chats. Oh, thank you. So Jesse shared the link in the chat in case you need the link to access for a new account. Okay, so we talked about adult modeling. We talked about giving the kids opportunities to practice skills. And again, those skills include the mindfulness piece, but they also include mindset and knowledge about nutrition and skills in terms of having good relationships with their peers and their classmates. Other ways to kind of support an overall culture in the school and in your classroom that support compassion that are included and kind of detailed in the curriculum. One is the compassion board, right? So this is just where you have a visual space in your room or in the hallway or whatever you have access to that can kind of promote compassion as a value and as something that you value. And there's all different ways. And, you teachers always make everything better. So there's so many creative ways to do this, but sometimes kids themselves can record acts of compassion. For K-1, maybe it would be through drawing. You can get creative, but just again, using that visual space to communicate that compassion is something that you value. And then again, in every grade level band, Unit 7 is a compassion project. And a compassion project is going to look different in K-1, obviously, than it is going to look in 4-5. But there are ways that the kids can give back to either the school or the larger community. An example is one school did one for K-1, one of the teachers noticed that there wasn't a food pantry with healthy food choices in the neighborhood where the school was located. And so they created one. And, this was a teacher-led project, but then the kids could help by, getting food or having their parents donate, some canned goods or what have you. Another one would be, making these little kindness rocks and leaving them around campus for other friends to find. So just small ways. But again, that helped the kids realize that they can have an impact on their community and that they're part of a larger community that where they're valued and where they value other people. When we think about implementing Flourish, there's a range of approaches. One thing that's always important is consistency. The thing with the full Flourish curriculum is that the lessons are long, so they are able to be divvied up, if you will. So it could be that maybe a PE or a dance teacher would be the one delivering the mindful movement portion of the class. And then a classroom teacher might be the one to deliver some of the activities that go along with it. So there's ways to be creative if you don't have the capacity yourself or if the schedule doesn't allow for a longer lesson time. Or you can divide the lesson into a few different delivery sessions, right? So you can be creative with that. And again, we always just encourage folks who are implementing to keep the adults in mind, right? So when you're delivering this work with kids, the more that you can be supporting your own well-being through, giving yourself compassion and cultivating a compassionate mindset in your own life, and perhaps utilizing some of the mindful moments or mindful movement sequences to support your own well-being, that's going to benefit not only you, it's also going to benefit the kids and your ability to deliver this type of work. Okay, I'm not seeing anything come up in the Q&A. If you have any questions after the session, feel free to send me an email. My name is Erin, and my email is right here. It's erin@pureedgeinc.org. We're always happy to support you. Thank you so much for joining. And tomorrow I will be back at the same time to talk about the 2 to 3 grade level band of Flourish. So hopefully you can join for that.